Welcome back, everyone, to the After the Scales presented by DJD Graphics, episode 61. I'm Jacob Dove of Phenom Motorsports, along with Shaun Blight of Canadian Racing Tours. Now, on today's episode 61, we have driver of the number 61 sprint car on the asphalt, Colton Bettis out of Lutz, Florida. Colton, thanks for joining us on today's episode.
Oh, no problem, man. It's a pleasure.
So we wanted to congratulate you right off the bat about your past win on Saturday. You got that coveted Dave Steele Memorial win. You had twin 35s at Showtime Speedway. You were up there. You got second and first, battling Cody Swanson and Aaron Wilson. Just talk us through that win. Obviously, Dave Steele was a really prominent driver in USAC back in the day and coming out of Florida. So just talk about that event as a whole.
Yeah, it means a lot to me. When I was younger, Dave Steele was my hero, and just like everybody behind the scenes, Yoho for doing a great cause for his mom and all his kids. Dave's mom was there, and it was cool that she came up to me after the race and gave me a big hug. And she tells me all the time, I remind her of her son, and it just brings tears to my eyes every time she says it. But yeah, we had good speed all day, or actually all weekend. We had the V6 non-wing car. It was on a rail all weekend, and we had some motor failures in the feature, running second, but that happens. It's racing. But move forward to Saturday. We had a really good day, and we started out a little off pace in practice, and we decided we were gonna bolt on another set of tires. We were on used rubber, and when we did that, we picked up a little bit, and we qualified second behind Cody, and we were supposed to start straight up in the first race, and they kind of threw a little hiccup in there, and we pulled pills, but I think we started sixth in the first feature, and I knew when Cody got in front of me, he had that big 410 motor, and I tucked under him a couple times with the little 360, but he could just drag race me down the straightaway. And then once he got out in front with like 10 to go, I was like, I wasn't going to push it. Save the tires for the next 35 because we weren't allowed to change tires between races. The only thing we were allowed to change was stuff on the car, but we weren't allowed to change any of the four tires.
So you're up against some pretty stout competition in those two twin 35s. Davey Hamilton Jr., I got to watch his dad race when I was growing up, running super modifieds up here at Oswego, not far from me. And then a couple of Canadians, Jeff Montgomery, Aaron Willison, who are big with the pavement sprints. And then, man, like Cody Swanson battling him in two features. What was that like?
It's a dream come true, that's for sure. I want to be like him when I grow up, and to be able to compete with any of them guys and be competitive against any of them, it's definitely super cool, and it's a dream come true. As being a little fan when you first started watching sprint cars and wanting to drive one day, it's definitely cool. But yeah, Cody is definitely a good wheelman, and he's one of the best for sure. And it was just a pleasure racing against him. When you're racing around him, he's not going to race you dirty. He does it. He's a class act, that's for sure. And I love it because it shows what like I can perform when they come to my side of town, and when I go up there, it's a little bit different animal for sure. But when they come down here, it kind of gives us a little advantage with our little 360 motors and our little Hurricanes on these little bull rings. It's definitely a lot of fun.
And speaking of Cody Swanson, running with the Sampier Chevrolet and the AP Driver Development Team, you have some exciting news for this year. You're going to be the youngest ever to run the USAC Silver Crown with that team, who's seen Cody Swanson, Kaylee Bryson, a lot of drivers run with them. How excited are you to do something new? Because I've about seen you run everything under the sun here down in Florida. You've been in the pro late model, the sportsman, and now moving up to that. I bet you're stoked for that.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited because, like I said, it's just like a dream come true as a little kid, wanting to be up in the ranks, and it's definitely I wouldn't have that opportunity without Sam and Aaron, for sure. It's definitely cool that they stepped up, and I'm invited, or not invited me, but I get to drive the race cars, and it's definitely super cool.
Yeah, so I got to see my first ever Silver Crown race last year, and I actually got to see them both on pavement at IRP and then on dirt at Eldora. And man, I'm hooked. I've got to get back. I'm looking at doing that Toledo race in April, actually.
Sweet.
Yeah. So who are you looking forward to racing up against? What are some of your goals this year with the Silver Crown cars?
We're gonna run a couple pavement races. We're not gonna step into the dirt yet because I hardly have any experience on the dirt. I actually have no experience on the dirt except for dirt goat karts. But we're gonna we're gonna run a couple pavement races this year and get that under my belt and potentially run hopefully run the full series the following year, depending how everything goes. But my expectations are just to go up there and finish top 10 and finish the race because I've never been on the big tracks like that before.
And looking back at your young racing career, Colton, you were the 2023 Southern Sprint Car Series Rookie of the Year and 2024 Pro Late Model Champion down here in Florida. You're a young grassroots racer. How confident are you knowing that you've checked some goals off your list that with your young racing career coming up, how many more goals that you want to check off, because you're accomplishing a lot at this age and you have a lot to go in your racing career. So tell us about how confident you are going forward.
Yes, sir. Like last year, we won the Southern Sprint Car Series championship, and when I think I was 12, I won the non-wing championship at Showtime, and I think that's the youngest in history to ever do that. But I'm not positive on that. But I know my goals moving forward are just this year is to run some of the bigger races and not really point chase as much this year. We're gonna run some must see stuff. We're gonna run like Colorado. There's a two-day event out there. Oswasto, there's a 2-day event we're gonna try to hit, and we're gonna try to get out to Vegas this year. I just want to run some of the bigger wing races and try to get recognized a little bit more up north.
That's really cool, man. Jacob was telling me like you started racing at 3 years old.
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I was probably still playing with Matchbox cars or whatever at 3 years old. So, like, what was it like? What do you remember about getting into a car at 3 years old, and like, how did that go for you?
So I remember we got a track out back. I remember my grandpa telling me he got me this goat kart for, I think it was either my birthday or Christmas. I can't remember totally, but he got me this go kart, and he's like, "You see that motor? I'm not gonna fire it up yet, but you're gonna get in it, and I'll pull you behind this golf cart." And I was like, "Oh boy, that's a little scary." And I remember he said, if you don't hit the back of the golf cart, and I learned the hard way, I ran underneath it the first time, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that again. So when I got used to the brakes and turning, he fired the motor up actually that afternoon, and I turned my first laps, and then when I turned 4, the age limit was 5 at Sam Rodriguez Dirt Devils track, and Sam was like, "Well, I'll start him in the back of the pack, and if you don't cause any troubles, I'll let him race." And so I started in the back of the pack, and I actually won the first rookie race I ever raced there. And that's kind of where it started. I fell in love with it after that.
And I mentioned about the different race cars that you've been behind the wheel of, and both Shaun and I really appreciate drivers jumping into each discipline of different types of race cars and being successful in them, and you've been able to do that. So between the sportsman, the pro late model, the non-wing sprint car, the wing sprint car, what have some challenges been? Jumping to each one and kind of getting used to how they handle the setup on them, and really mastering each one of them.
I think it's the hardest part is it's kind of like a mental thing. You kind of got to remember when you jump in another car what animal it is and how you have to drive it. I feel like the non-wing sprint car is definitely one of the trickiest because you got to keep it on the ground. You can't buzz the tires as much. And a wing sprint car, you kind of just go for it all. Drive it in there, drive it into the corner as hard as you can, and hopefully it sticks. But jumping in from like the full body stuff and the sprint car stuff, it's totally different. it's you got a 1,600-pound animal, and then with a 360 or 410 in it, and then you go and jump in a 602 late model or 604 late model, and it's 3,000 pounds. Just as a rough estimate. But yeah, I think it's just the weight difference and having fenders and not having fenders. You kind of got to remember that.
So with all these different cars that you're running, what's the reason behind that? Because I know talk to some other guys that venture into different disciplines of racing, and they just say, I want to get seat time. Like, do you have an end goal somewhere that you want to get in a certain discipline, or is that kind of the plan, just to race as much as you can, figure it out later, kind of thing?
Yeah, it's kind of that, and it's kind of I want to be like another Cody Swanson, but I wouldn't turn down any NASCAR opportunities. That's for sure. Because that's been my goal since I was a little kid. But if the funding's, it's super hard to get there, and with the late model stuff, it's more expensive than the sprint car stuff. Just because you got fenders, you tear up a lot more stuff in the late models. But I really, my goal is just race everything I can right now and try to get my name out there as much as possible.
So looking forward to this weekend, Friday and Saturday, you're going to be racing in the Children's Dream Fun 50 here at my local track, Citrus County Speedway in Inverness, Florida. Just talk about going into this weekend. It's going to be good competition again. A lot of drivers coming around the country to compete, and for a good cause too. JJ Dutton does a good job, promoting that and getting people out. So just talk about that event and what you're looking forward to the most.
I'm super excited for that event, just because it's got a meaning behind it, and JJ's about to walk up actually, so we'll see if we can get him on here. But it's a super good cause, and I'm excited to race for it, and there's going to be some heavy competition, that's for sure. And my expectations are just to run decent and run in the top 5, and I think we'll be good.
So who else are you expecting to race against this weekend? For those of us that up here up north, I don't know if it's on Flow or anything, but those winged sprint cars, you always see kind of like I'm a big Bobby Santos guy, and he's a guy that'll race at anything. You mentioned Cody Swanson. I like Bobby Santos because he'll get in behind the wheel of anything. Who all is expected to race there this weekend?
I know there's some. I got JJ over here. And yeah, we got Bobby Santos. We have Cody Swanson. They're really big hitters. We got Aaron Pierce, Jeff Montgomery, or Aaron Willison actually. Jeff Montgomery, and you got a lot of heavy hitters, that's for sure. And I just feel like we have to keep our car on the ground and keep it hooked up, and we should stack pretty good against them all. I'm actually a really big Bobby Santos fan too.
Yeah, Bobby's a really good guy. He was on our podcast before. So definitely cool to get some asphalt guys on our podcast, because we usually have a lot of dirt guys. So, but yeah, it's going to be a great weekend of racing. I feel like it's going to be really close at the top at the podium. Just Colton, we appreciate your time. We thank you for joining us, and we're going to wish you the best of luck. I'm going to see you there at Citrus. Before we let you go, we have a DJD Gear rapid fire segment. I just ask you 10 questions just to get to know you better, and I'll fire them away when you're ready.
Yeah, for sure.
So for the first question, we got why the number 61?
So actually, that was my grandpa's number, and that was actually the year he was born, 1961. So when he raced modifieds, that was his number, and it just carried over.
Who gave you the nickname Colt the Bolt?
Ray Bragg actually gave it to me when I passed a kid on the outside in a goat kart at Dirt Devils. He actually gave me that name.
What's your favorite thing to do outside of racing?
I got a lot of favorite things. Probably fishing, hunting, hanging out with my girlfriend. That's definitely one you got to throw in there. But I love doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I knew you were a big outdoors guy like me. So the next question is, what fish is your favorite to catch?
Ooh, that's a hard one, because inshore, offshore, like lake.
It could be anything, just what you do the most.
I bass fish a lot. that's what I do a lot more than offshore fish.
Good choice. What's your favorite and least favorite subject in school?
Ooh, it's got to be reading's my least favorite subject, and there's like PE count, like
Sure.
outdoors. All right, yeah, that's my favorite one.
What's a song that gets you pumped up on race day?
Ooh, that one's hard. I gotta go with some. It's either rap or like some Kid Rock and get me going.
What's the best place to eat around Lutz, Florida?
Hmm. There's a lot of good places. There's a new steakhouse. It's called Birkin's. That's a pretty good place.
What's your favorite racetrack in Florida, and what's your favorite out-of-state track?
My favorite racetrack in Florida, is that one's hard too. It's got to be probably Arbondale. I'm really good at Arbondale, and my out of town favorite so far is Owasso.
And if you could race any type of race car the rest of your career, what would it be?
Definitely a sprint car.
All right, so last question for you is, what's one big piece of advice that someone has given you that you've applied to your young racing career?
Never get too big for your britches. That's definitely a big one. Or never forget where you came from is definitely another big one. That's what I'll never forget. I'll never forget. I came from Arbondale, Showtime, and Citrus. Is where I started, and that'll never leave my back.
Those are great responses. And before we let you go, I also had another question pop in my mind because you have a brand new wrap here on your sprint car. It's a beautiful black, maroon, and gold. Just tell us about the inspiration, whose idea that was, and how it all came together.
So it was actually me and my stepdad's idea. We threw it. We kind of like threw it together. We were gonna kind of make something pop a little bit. So some of these sprint cars are kind of plain old school look, and we wanted some new swagger. So we kind of looked at Lenny Puglio's old car. Dave Steele used to drive, and it's kind of similar to that. But we kind of threw it together with Herbie Cope, and we love it. I think it's a little dark on the racetrack. We got to change some stuff, but in the daytime it looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, because I'm so used to seeing that bright yellow Dodge, colored 61 car. But I like the black and the maroon and gold. I think it's clean. It's like that old school vibe. So,
Yes, sir.
well, we appreciate your time, Colton. We wish you the best of luck this weekend. We'll see you there at Citrus County Speedway. And yeah, good luck.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
thanks for coming on, man.
No problem.
After the Scales is proudly presented by DJD Graphics. From commercial and personal vehicles to racing bikes and cars of all makes, models, and disciplines, DJD Graphics can fully customize your vehicle to suit your needs. For more information, contact Darren and visit his website at www.djdgraphics.com. Tell him Shaun and Jacob sent you to receive special rates.